Okay. So should I click on share screen?
You don't have to with the way you're doing it. What everyone could do though is switch their view to speaker view so that we all get little, Giora gets big, and we can best see his paintings. The chat is up, so anybody who wants to can type in the chat, and we'll read it as we go along, and Giora is of course available to answer questions.
Yeah.
I would suggest that at most people, if you could go ahead and mute yourself, just so if there's any background noise where you are, it doesn't come through.
That's a good idea. Yeah, thank you.
Okay. So I don't know if you see me tiny, like in the little frame, or bigger. I want you to see me bigger.
That's not up to you, Giora. That's up to the people, for each of us to choose speaker view.
Okay, so choose speaker if you want.
Yeah, you don't worry about it.
I can always sneak under the door. So it so happens that tomorrow, according to the Jewish calendar, I'll be 79. It's my birthday. So this meeting is also my birthday. And I think I'll be successful in blowing out all the candles if I'll be able to explain to you what I'm doing in the book. This will be my my test. So this morning before this call, I did a new painting, and it turned out to be a very good one to explain with the process. So basically, I mean, this is how the book looks, right? And in the book, after an introduction that does what I'm doing now, explaining what the book is about, it goes picture and poem, picture, poem, picture, poem, just like that, all along the book, until it comes to, in the end, there is just one poem about pictures. It just came to me. I wanted to show a process, that the book is a process, actually. So I had many more than I needed. I just chose a date to start. And I went from there without skipping any picture for 42 pictures and poems. I didn't choose by if I liked the poem more or the picture more. I just took everything because I wanted the reader to have a sense of what happens to a person that goes through this process. This is I call it, it's like a meditation process.
Recording in progress.
It is meditation because there's an echo. I think if you try to shut off the sound, maybe it will stop the echo. Until you want to talk. When you want to talk, you can click on the microphone. So when you do a progress, it's you can say it's a evolution of the personality, and it never goes like that. It goes like this, right? And I said, okay, let people see what happens to me when I do. So there is going up and going down, going up and going down, but over the whole, you can see that there is some change. And I think the way you know if it's a good change or bad change is if there is more love, more happiness, more joy in the process that you can feel, then it's a progress. And if it's a confusion and maybe sadness or conflict, then you know it went down at that point. And that's how evolution goes. So the painting that I did today is this. And you see that the red line is kind of like the excitement of everything that happens to me as a human being in this physical world. emotional world, thinking world today at the moment that I did it. So you can see all kind of things happen. You can figure out, you know, something tries to go here, there's like walking here, or some progression, some shapes go after each other, some bigger, some smaller. That's like the direct experience of my emotional life in the moment. And when I say direct experience, I mean it's not thinkingly, but it's feelingly. And that's a very, very important difference. Because when it's feelingly, it shuts off the thinkingly part of myself. The thinkingly part of myself is the source of all the problems. There's no other problems for people without what they think. So that's the benefit of it. And if I go for some time, just follow the way I feel and depict it here, in this case, by the line, I'm becoming happier and happier because I'm relieved more and more of my heavy thinking, my burdening thinking. Now, when I finished the drawing, it feels finished for me at that moment. I start to add the colors. So even though the colors seem to be under the lines, I actually make them after I finish the lines. So when I start doing the colors, I'm already in a better emotional state. I'm more happy because I relieved some of the burden of the thoughts. So I start from a more loving, more accepting, more supportive state. And it gives me this deeper state, gives me a wider view of the whole, of what's going on here. Usually it's like a communication from my bigger self to help me evolve. So all the process for me is to getting closer to my bigger self, my deeper self, so that I'll be able to evolve. So if you look at the colors, you see there's a concentration of heaviness here, and then lighter colors come in. So it's as if going in this direction. This is the end, like of a cliff, and it's heavy. It doesn't move, and lighter colors come into the lightness, and eventually, what do they come into? They come into this white, into this background. That usually it's considered to be a background to show the positive things on top of it. They're like not important. But in my case, this background is the main issue of all that I do in my life. Okay, so I want to talk about this now. So I started out of the book, and this was like to pay my debt for the Thursday meetings, in which I show a new picture every Thursday. So I'll take one picture from the book. I think it's page 83. And it's called The Wounded Bird. That's it, The Wounded Bird. And I'll read you the poem, and you will see that it leads somehow to the importance of the white, the nothing background. For me, it's not nothing. For me, it's full of all the potential for everything that can exist. So the bird is trying to fly, but she is wounded. The pain drags her down. She still remembers strength. She flew across lands and oceans, higher than some clouds. She remembers salty air and fields with green and yellow. She remembers her feet on a wet branch, shaken by the wind. She remembers coffee cups, thoughts with colors, and stories long and short. So you see, the bird has become me. Right? She remembers the beginning of her life with wonder. Ah, the sky. And sometimes she remembers where she was before she came here to play. Even now, her whole life is passing quickly through her dreaming eyes. within this big living endlessness that she really is. So here the white came to life in my words. So I want to add to what I said before, that when I finish doing the drawing that is an encounter with the raw emotional state, and come the colors and kind of give a wiser, deeper, more loving view of the situation, then come the words, which I also write intuitively and arrange to make it beautiful, to make it into a poem. The words come to talk to my mind, to my thinking mind, the one that I wanted to avoid before, because it is full of habitual patterns of thought. And I want to teach it new thoughts. So when I see from a deep perspective what's going on, I give it to the subconscious so that he'll have a new thought to think. And something in my makeup of a human being with a thinking mind, with emotions, with body, with the world, this entity will be able to have new ways of saying things, and will change. And that's how change happens. It's kind of complicated, but that completes the whole picture. And that's a practice that I do day in and day out. Right. So I'll read you another poem from the book. It's called The Giant. And it also talks about that space in a different way. So here is a picture. Here is a giant who is made of independent, tightly closed parts. Every part has a different desire and a different plan. So the giant cannot move as one being with one clear thought. That's a human condition, right? But there are little spaces in the giant where the bodies of the parts do not touch each other. Like if you have a big one and a big one, you have something in between. In these spaces lives the intensity of being. So it is with us, only where our thoughts do not touch each other and leave an empty space in the mind. Only from there our true life springs. So this was my musing at that day when I did this. Now I'll go to the first picture in the book. So I'll show you. In the beginning of the book, I have a little bit of introduction. I won't read it to you, but it explains more or less what I told you now in a different way, because you can access like when you try to solve something at the computer, you can access it from many angles, eventually to arrive in the same place. So this speaks about it also psychologically, because I studied art therapy, and I use this method with other people to help them get rid of unhappy thoughts that they have. Right? It was very effective. And when you, in this way, when you do psychology right, you actually start the spiritual path, actually, because you relieve yourself of burdening thoughts that make you unhappy or disturbed, and you open the perspective for wider way of saying, for more loving and more caring. So when I live through the book, I come to the first poem, like this. And I'll show you the real picture and I'll read it from there. So this one is called The Trip That Never Ends. And that's a point where I decided to start the book, because I had more than I needed. and I looked for something among all the painting and poems that I had that kind of felt like a beginning of some sort to start from there. It's just a formal choice, to give it some shape. So this was the beginning, like a trip starts there. He goes forward. He is made of many things: animals, fields, earth, air, a musical instrument. That's actually the way I feel. He's kneeling now to feel the energy of the earth. His heart is with his journey's end that he will never see. Or you can say that the end of his journey is in him always. He will always go, and his journey's end will grow within him like a flower. So the journey is actually an inner journey, right? Okay, so that's the first beginning of the journey in the book. Then we go to the second, and immediately you encounter some downturn. It's called Time to Give It Love. So if you look at the composition here, you see a shape that goes like that, and it's being stopped here. Right? This thing is almost eating it. The blue kind of grabbing at it. And you see these look like some kind of bird or creatures or something that looks backward. Like the red goes here and they look back. That's like an inner conflict right there. The fiery move to the right is cut apart and blocked. Fear is eating it alive. Curiosity has turned left, but isn't moving yet. Ideas spring to life without a body. Clearly, it's time to give this thing some love. Right? So the doctor says, the wiser state that I go into, luckily, in this process, kind of tells me, don't worry, don't fight it, don't try to conquer it, give it love, and it will find its way, because that's what it's missing, actually. That's what it's looking for. The third one in the book is called A Being of Now. That's the picture. A wind came over the fields. There are sweet moments of living as a child, a man, and an old body. Hot moments, blocked moments, sunlight, greens and waters, precious skies and birds. With precise elaboration, the wind freezes the moments and sends them to the meadows of the past, complete as they are, to never change again. That's how memories of whatever happened cannot change. It has happened the way it did, and it is kept in some memory in the infinite consciousness, just as it is. So that's what I meant here. The eye who looks and loves, the eye who looks and loves is the deeper eye, right? Is free now to move on to its next adventure, where it will be an even better heart than it was. The eye cannot take the memories with him, as he is only a being of now. Right? And that's true about the true I, the true who we are. It doesn't carry memories. It is just what is living now, what is being decided now, what is being chosen, and what is being done in this moment. And this has an effect on everything. In our world of things and stories and memories, it changes the story. But in the world of the spirit, it changes the spirit into a more loving one, more open, more free, more fluid. Okay, the next one. I don't want to do too many. I don't know. What do you feel about it? Is it okay? Okay. Yes, okay. So this is called when the heart comes with the mind. When the heart comes with the mind. I'm thinking about possibilities and probabilities. Some things that are just concentrated energy, as you know, come out vague when you want them. They can be one thing or another. And there are those that will be exactly as you wanted. This happens when the heart comes along with the mind, knowing that the thing you want brings happiness to the big mind of all. When your heart loves so much the colorful bird that flies so fast near your window, the big mind is filled with echoes. And how do you know that it is so? You know because you are the big mind too. Right? So this is how it goes. Another one that has to do with longing. And then we'll go to kind of start to jump to the end. I'll kind of skip over many and go to the end of the book. So that you'll get a sense of the difference between the beginning and the end. So this is called Even More Beautiful. The little boy, I considered that to be a little boy, came out of the wood. I mean, how do I decide how to read the art? Let me say something about that. Sometimes it's the composition. I see in the composition here, I made something to explain. Composition is made of many things. You know, every line has a character. When you really tune into the line, you start to feel something. And this reminds you of life events, and you know, oh, this line is worry, or this line is scared, and this line is happy and smooth and jumping and, you know, childlike. So the difference between lines that you can interpret. So that's one way, but just as the line, you can actually do interpretation to anything in the painting. And this is like when shapes relate to each other. For example, this shape wants to go, but this stops her. So there's no relation between them. There's no good connection. So that's how, if you find something like this in a composition, you can understand it like that. And here there is an influence, and you can say, oh, there is a reaction there. It's alive, right? It's not a staunch a person who doesn't change or refuse to change, or a character. So that's and sometimes I just say see what association come to me when I look spontaneously. Association jump, and I just write them down. So the little boy came out of the wood where the shadows were soft and warm. As soon as he stood outside, he saw that the fields, the trees, and the faraway clouds were being pulled by their hearts to go farther, to where it is more spacious and even more beautiful. But how can anything be more beautiful than what we have here, the little boy thinks, as his own heart that has already flown away is calling him with no words. Right? So this is, in a way, there is no escape. When you start taking trip into the unknown, inevitably you start to be pulled, you start to be more interested, you feel the longing. Okay, so I'm jumping much further in the book, and it's called One Alone. Here, when I say I, for some reason I decided that this is I coming out of the boathouse, and I have a little bubble of purple around me, or magenta. I'm alone inside of my magenta balloon. It is a spark from the big light, and I keep it small with all my might, because my life showed me that growing it brings trauma. Here you see how through the art I start to have memories from childhood, right? But what I wanted then is not what I want now, or it was a narrow version of a bigger truth. Now I know that if I let my bubble grow, there will be monkeys on the trees, and birds will talk with us on how fulfillment comes from really nothing and in no time. Right? So that's this one. Here's another one. Also a good mood in this case. It's called Transparent. The colors came to play today. The child that previously was rained at home is running out today, pretending to be the sky. As the sky, running to the sun, he is part of all there is, the green, the ochre, the soft, and the yes. And I have gotten transparent today. Look through me and see yourself everywhere. Okay. And the last one that I planned to read, but everything is open. It's called Can I Just Say Yes? Here, when I do, I don't know what I'm doing actually in the drawing. I just follow my sense of beauty, my individual sense of beauty. And everybody who worked with me did the same thing and also came up with surprising results, both in the art and in the poetry. So this is like a figure, and I decided that this is me. And I'm standing on a weird creature that is eating from here and growing a garden out of his head, right? So that's that's what I wrote. Look at me, my heart. I'm standing on the back of my walking friend. It drinks red from green and makes a garden from its head, where clouds are hanging in the air like fruit. The sky is deep and soft and does just anything I ask. Where am I, my heart? Can I just say yes? Great. And that's the end of what I prepared from the book to read. Yeah, we did like 30 minutes. Do you want to say anything through the chat or directly in talking or ask anything?
There were some questions in the chat, and one of them was, where can one purchase the book? Is it available at Book Culture? I know it's on Amazon, but is it at our local store?
No, only Amazon.
Okay.
Yeah. It turned out that I did it in a size, I wasn't aware of it when I did it, but when I uploaded the book, the finished book, after I broke my teeth on how to design it with a program that I'm not so exercised with, it turned out that I chose a size that can only be printed in America and England. So I missed the chance to print it in Spain and France and Germany.
Yeah, so you can't get it.
Yeah. So the only place to get it is on Amazon, or if you travel to England, on Amazon England. But here it's easy. You just in the field of searching, write my name and
We should put the link here. Maybe we can find it.
yeah, but it's very easy. Just in the field of search in Amazon, you put my name, and it will bring all the books that I did automatically.
Oh.
And, you immediately see this picture. You'll recognize.
That's what I wanted to see. Hold it up. Hold it up again, please. Thank you.
Sent you the link, Carol.
Huh?
I sent you the link to
Yeah.
Amazon, to the book on Amazon.
I bet say something when you hold up the book so that you show up on the screen.
What?
so we get a picture. Hold it with your face next to it.
With my
Let's
face.
see.
You wanna take a picture?
Yes.
Oh, that's a good picture.
And then I think Lisa has a question.
Okay. You did, or?
Giora, I was just wondering, in the last picture that you showed us, were you on some sort of a boardwalk or some raised platform? The yellow platform under the figure?
I was here sitting at my table, drinking coffee probably.
I thought you were gonna
No,
ask on some drug, the way you worded it.
But the picture
Yeah.
goes wherever it wants to go. You start pulling the strings and it pulls you somewhere the imagination takes you. So yeah, it may look like a boardwalk.
Put it up again. I thought it looked like an alligator you were standing on.
Yeah, some kind of, yes. One of your creatures.
Yeah, doesn't that look at the head and the nose and the tail and legs.
Yeah, exactly. And I hope your creatures don't drink green from bread.
Red from the green.
Yeah.
I would like to ask a question too. Thank you very much. I think I found myself really emotional about the trip that never ends. And I was just wondering, do you feel that this is a continuation of your inner feelings, or that you feel that, we as people will always continue thinking and minding whatever it is that is within ourselves?
Yes, I think life can be satisfying only partially. We always are left with something missing.
Oh, okay. And the one about the wounded bird, you refer to the wounded bird as she.
Yeah,
Do you feel that? Why she? Why not he?
I think it's because I come from Hebrew, and in Hebrew, a bird is a she. Basically,
Okay.
Wow.
I think that's where it
Okay.
comes from. But also, yeah, animal is a she in Israel, even though it can be a he too. But I think usually if you say an animal and you want to say to relate to her in third body, you say she. She did, she went, she ate.
Okay. Thank you.
That's the real source. It's not because for me, from the perspective of the whole book, he and she is the same. Only coming to life is a different body to have different experiences.
Right. It's not about masculine or feminine. It is
No.
more the feeling in the mind. Okay. Thank you.
Feminine are learned things. If you are born, when you are born, yeah, I remember actually my wife studied anthropology when we were young, and one of the articles that she read was it was done in Israel in hospitals, and people saw that when women had girl babies, they would talk to her and pet her and smile to her, and when they had boy babies, they would give him a patch on the tush, and say, "You'll be a hero," something like that. It was a different attitude. So we learned from childhood, we could teach our girls to be heroes and boys to be
Right. Okay.
different, but it's a learned thing. But basically, before we are born, we're non-women nor men.
Right.
Conscious,
Sexual.
yeah, non-sexual. We are consciousness, and we learn all this to have those experiences here.
Thank you.
Sure.
The art pulls you towards the white space. What happens to you when you write the poems?
What happens to me? I come closer to that white space. I get more of its characteristics. Like, because I get closer to it, then what comes out of me will be a little bit more loving, more accepting, more supportive, more playful, more joyful, more creative. It just happens. to all of us, not only me. I mean, the stuff
Is there a white space in the poetry? And if so, how do we identify it?
in the poems themselves.
Yes.
Well, like there would be a word of the background that is me, something like that. I think in one of the poems it was something like that. The bird, the wounded bird, identifies with the space. There would be a word like space or empty or nothing or infinity, something like that. Or sometimes, you can imagine it out of what is not said. But out of what is said, you kind of imagine something that is not said, and you understand it as such. And by the way, there's no rule of how to understand the poem, like everything. Everyone comes with his own unique path through life. And so every interpretation is fine, is really good, because it is exactly what the person who interprets is looking for, or is living for, or longing for.
Hi, Giora.
Hi, Ari.
Yeah, I think it's really wonderful. Especially the white space, which is like the things that we take for granted, like breath, right? It's really hard to do things without breathing. and the white space doesn't go away, right? It's like the universe. So I think it's really wonderful how you conceived and executed the book. Thank you.
Thank you. So did I blow the candles? Or is there any candle that needs blowing?
I don't think so.
No, Anita?
No, the candle is your light. That's you.
Yeah.
I was particularly moved by two of the poems. I thought they were wonderful, and your explanation beforehand of how you approach it, and how what we just looking at it, what we would think comes last, and what we how we, and vice versa, how we often take things for granted and think that we're seeing what we're seeing, and it's in this case it's completely the opposite.
Yeah.
But when I realize that, I always wonder whether, in a sense, you're trying to fool us, because you make it look like something came first, is behind something else, and it's actually not.
Yeah, in the process of making the art.
Yeah.
Doing the colors second. That's what you mean. Yes. I know, it's weird. What can I say? But
We're weird.
Yeah. That's somehow it developed to be like that. There was a time when I painted over the lines, but with transparent colors. Line was always important to me all my life. And I'll show you something. When I remember even in kindergarten, I remember something. There is a picture of me. A photographer came to the kindergarten, took pictures of the children, and I held up a drawing. And in the drawing, it's actually, no, it was a painting that we did. We had cups of color in the middle of the table, and everybody just took the brushes from the color and painted on the page, right? So I remember doing something like this, right? Children do houses and trees, but these are cypresses, right? And I remember more or less it was like this. Maybe it was another one here. I was so happy when I did it. It was such an experience, like to feel, wow, this is the shape of the cypress and a house and all that. And then the teacher came and she said, Giora, why don't you fill it up with color? And took a red and green, and then the booms filled up all the picture with color. And I felt like the most abused I felt in my life. It was like a real shock. Why did she do that? It was so beautiful already. So it was important to me. Even at that time, I felt the space,
The shape.
right? It was important to me. And the line was very important. So because of that, I start with line, because this catches my heart comes out, and start to stretch into the paper, made into lines. And then because I don't think, I go deeper and deeper and deeper. And because I follow the sense of beauty that actually the stuff that it's like the language of the beyond, right? Beauty is not in the stuff that we have here in nature. They're just things with no character. We give the things the character, and we give it by feeling the beyond, all of us. That's how we feel beauty.
Giora, there are a couple of questions in the chat. Karen Roy asks, are your paintings watercolors? Do you feel that gives you more freedom?
Yeah, the lines are made with watercolor, and the shapes of color, I make a pencil line. The pencil line is kind of just whatever comes, whatever feels right. And then the colors inside are gouache that I use transparently. You can do that. Gouache usually is more opaque, so you can come with it you can make it darker and opaque. But I like it when it's transparent. It's kind of more alive for me. And I have to say that the lines are a result not only of watercolor, but a result of the type of brush that I use and the paper, because the paper also is receiving, the way it receives the watercolor influences the character of the line. And I simply worked so much in watercolor that it kind of speaks to me spontaneously. It's very comfortable for me to use it. I did many, many experiments. There was a time when I did the colored shape in colored pencils that I did very, very, very dense, so that you didn't see paper marks. You didn't see pencil marks at all. It became, there are pencils that are very fatty and smooth, so you can make them look like a thick paint. This worked too, but the using gouache is more flexible because you can mix colors endlessly. Yeah.
Miriam Shelton also asks a question. Miriam, do you want to ask it out loud, or should I just read it?
Go ahead and read it.
Okay. I see that in many of your books on Amazon, you illustrated stories that were already written, often by others. But in this book, you did the art first and poetry afterwards. How was this difference for you as a creative, introspective person?
Yeah, the role of it's almost I could do without writing, but if you want to change the personality, right, the personality that we live, this stuff, physical stuff and the environment, they have a thinking mind inside and language capabilities and all that. And so if you want to live in the world and behave in the world, you have to change the content of your thoughts, right? So when you do the painting work, it does changes, but then you can forget it. But if you find a way to write about it, especially if you do it artistically, right, so that it will be intuitive, but still intuitive, and you won't start to be thinking like being an analytical guy. If it still goes spontaneously, then it gives material to the new thought. You kind of replace the old thought patterns with new knowledge, and you change the content of your thoughts. And that's how you change in the real world, which is called the real world, but it's not real, but we live here, right? That's that's why text comes afterwards. Being an illustrator is something else. It's kind of like someone makes artwork, right, in words, and you react to it, but trying to give the children a wider view, kind of not to give them the feeling that things are more free than they look, that they can be stretched here and imagine like that, You want to push their imagination in different directions so that they will be more free children. And Anita, I think the food has come.
It already, it came already. I don't know what that is.
Oh,
Anybody?
okay.
I just wanted to Tirza, I'll go to the door in a second. Tirza is here. What a surprise from Israel, right? You're still in Israel?
Yeah, in Israel.
Yeah, and she had a question also. I'm gonna go get the door.
Okay. Tirza, ask.
היא הולכת לפתוח את הדלת כי אני פה.
לא, מישהו מצלצל בדלת.
אני יודעת, הבנתי, אני פתחת. א', אני רוצה לשאול אם אפשר לראות את התמונה הראשונה והשנייה עוד פעם, שהראית, אם זה מנומס וזה בסדר.
הראשונה?
את התמונה הראשונה שהראית והשנייה.
Okay.
That's in the chat. She's asking to show the first and second picture again.
Yeah.
והדבר השני שאני רוצה, ויש לי פה תמונה שלך, שאני נורא אוהבת בחדר השינה, ואני כמעט כל ערב אומרת לה לילה טוב. ואני רוצה לשאול אותך אם מותר לי להראות לך אותה ולשמוע מה תגיד עליה היום. אם זה מנומס וזה בסדר להתערב בצורה כזאת.
בסדר גמור.
אני הולכת להביא אותה.
Okay, so Tita said two things. First, she wants to see the first picture that I showed and the second. Let me see.
אחרי כל מה שדיברת, אז זה מעניין אותי לראות את זה עוד פעם.
This was the first, I think.
אוקיי. אני אוהבת אותם אחת, אבל...
Okay. Now the second one is the wounded bird.
זהו. Okay, wow.
Yeah, you can see that. You see. I'm sure you feel like when you look at a body moving, you see the movement here too. You see the suffering.
כן, זה עניין אותי. כי אתה מדבר תנועה אותנטית כל הזמן, לגמרי.
Yeah.
You're talking authentic movement.
Yeah. Okay. So Tirza said, I'm talking authentic movement. Authentic movement, I don't know if I'll be able to explain it well, but it's a modality of also of self-growth, in which a person closes their eyes and makes movement in the room. He has a specific room that he learns so that he's not afraid to move without looking. And he starts to move, and whatever comes in him to do with the body, he does. And the body actually expresses a lot that is not talked usually, not talked about it. So the body is an expression, you can say, of the subconscious in a way, a lot. And so how does it help the person? Because he knows that there is a witness there. Just this knowing, every one of us has an inner witness, and this should be enough. But actually, to help the inner witness, you put the witness outside. The witness outside scares the hell of the witness inside. so he realizes, oh, I did this. Oh, I feel this, and the person becomes more aware of how his body is connected to what in my case is the deeper energetic movements, deeper than the thoughts and emotions, goes to where actually life is created. where the personality is being created and the experiences of life are being created. So that's a very, very, hi Zara. And this is very, very helpful in terms of growth, because that's all you need to grow. You need to be a witness to those movements in the deep self, where energies are making you up. And then you start to have control and you realize that you are free. So that's a authentic movement. And Tirsa is using authentic movement in therapy. As far as I know, nobody comes out of her studio without being repaired.
So now, unity. אבל אני...
Oh. Oh,
Oh, I know what it is.
that's one of my favorites. I love that book.
This book was remaindered even before it came out. Like I did the whole book, and then a big company gulped up the small company that I did the book for, and they decided that this book is not going to do any good, and they put it in the basement, and they sent me 20 copies so that
A fabulous book
they won't cry too much.
called Daddy's Whiskers, isn't it?
Yeah, that is Whiskers. It's based on a song that was very popular in a television station in New Hampshire or Maine or something like that. And the whole book is a poem, a long poem, and it belongs to the father, and the father struggles with the whiskers. They come from here, so they're whiskers, and so this is one example of how he tries to, find out how to live to push them somewhere, so they won't be in the way. But they do all kinds of things, some useful and some not.
Well, I think it's more about how the kids deal with his whiskers and what they do with it and how they react to it. It's funny that you said the other. So it's about all.
So
I have a picture of that if you guys want to see it. I don't know if you can.
Oh yeah, it's
oh,
out of
it's from
focus.
the same book, yeah.
Oh, it's out of focus.
It's out of focus, Donna, if you can kind of zoom in and out, so it'll refocus on it.
Yeah,
Zoom in and out. I don't know how to do that.
he made a slide.
Just move the phone closer in a way, close in that way, and then let it kind of refocus on it.
Yeah,
and say something, Donna, so that you'll be on the screen.
I'm sorry. I don't know. I can't see myself on the video on my phone. Something's up.
Oh, your setting is on blur background. That's the problem.
Background?
Your settings on Zoom are blurring your background.
Right. You
So,
got it.
so everything is blurred, including the painting.
Yeah.
Okay, I'll unblur myself and I'll come back to you guys.
Abba, I'm wondering if Tirsa wanted to hear you interpret the painting, like in the way you interpret the paintings in your book.
I think she wants. Yeah, she said like this. Yes. So
to interpret
While she's doing it, I'll show you another one. Can you see that?
Oh,
The Jolly Woodchuck children's book.
That's a different book. Yeah.
Everybody has my pictures. So
now we can see it, Donna.
So I looked.
Oh, that's better.
You got the
I
book.
can see it. It's the beard becomes a staircase. Yeah.
Ah.
Yeah. So
Still small.
You get the text for the book on a piece of paper or two pages, right, Tirsa? Yeah, and you start to see how you want to present it to the children. You see, I see imagined children sitting around me and looking like as if they're looking through my eyes at the picture that I'm painting. And I think about how to make them feel good, that they can laugh, they can be jolly, they can be happy. And nevertheless, I have to somehow describe what is told or do something that is in the book, in the text, because otherwise the editor will say, hey, it doesn't belong here, you know. So I try to think about it from authentic movement perspective. So the person is disturbed, really has some big chunk of disturbance that grows out of him. He did it himself, but nevertheless it feels like disturbing, and he's struggling with it, and he will do this movement in the therapy room, and you'll have to open another room for the bird to go. Until eventually he will realize that there is a subconscious thought hidden there, that he needs this something for some reason, you know, from his own, the way he sees the world and life. So when he discovers that there is a reason for it, like he doesn't really want to be free, he wants to be burdened by this for whatever, I'm just imagining. At that moment, when he realizes that, the bird will fall, and the person will go, you know, and the children will say, hey, Daddy, where is the beard? Did you shave? What did you do? I don't like you like that. That's what I see.
אוקיי. זה המאבק הנצחי בין אני והסיפור שלי, ואיך הוא דוחף אותי ואני דוחפת אותו, והאם אפשר לצאת איתו במחול. ואז או שהוא יקטן, או שהוא ינשור, או שיקפלו אותו וישימו אותו במגירה. אבל הוא כבר לא ידוף יותר. זה מעכב יותר.
So
זה מקסים, גיורא, זה מקסים, מקסים, מקסים.
Yeah, thank you so much. So what she said is, you don't know Hebrew. That's a problem. The bird for this person is his burden. It's not a bird, but a burden, and it's something that he invented for himself, to have a burden for some reason. And as a result of understanding why he did it, he will actually, either the bird will grow and become more important and become the main story, or it will disappear from the picture altogether. And then what? The end, Tirza? What did you say in the end?
בסוף, זה בסוף, אתה יודע מה? או שהזקן ינצח אותו, או שהוא ינצח את הזקן, בעצם.
Well, so there are two possibilities. Either he will win over the whiskers, or the whiskers will win him. These are the two possibilities. And as a therapist, I can tell you it's a good way to look at life, because you're not responsible for whatever will happen to the client. It's his business. You just have to help him clarify. Yeah, that's it.
תודה רבה, זה בדיוק זה.
Yeah, she said it's true. It's correct. I passed the test.
אתה כבר עברת את זה הרבה קודם.
So let me see in the questions here in the chat. Oh, there's a lot. Too much. It's like a newspaper. Are you recording? Yeah, social work. Yes. Miriam Shelton. Please start recording. The book was said. Monique said bookstore. No, not yet. Maybe I'll be. You know, it's a struggle to put the book in all the places that I want. I can try to do it, but I don't know if I'll succeed. It all depends on money.
Oh, I have a question. I have a question about, you said the size of your book would not be published outside of the United States and Europe. What's the size that's universal?
8.25. Oh, when
In
you go to make a book, self-published book, right? When you do, they give you a set of like 10 possible sizes. And I have to choose, and I chose square, it just looked comfortable for me to put my stuff in. And I chose it because of I liked it, right? It just looked comfortable to me. But it turned out that only in America and in England they have a machine that fits this size of printing. And if I wanted it to be in other places, I should have chosen other sizes.
Like what? Rectangle?
No, there is another square actually, but it's smaller.
Oh,
Not smaller, but I didn't feel like going through the design again. It's a lot of work that I'm not fluent in.
okay.
Are there any other questions?
I have one. Let me
Okay.
see. What I take away, aside from the beauty of the artwork and the words, is your kind of describing and reacting to something subjective, and then the medium becomes somewhat objective. So I was wondering a little about your thoughts about the relationship between one's own subjectivity and allowing the imaginative realm to emerge along with an instrumental objective. I think you touched on it when you talked about other people's text versus your own and the white spaces.
Yeah.
But could you say a little more about that?
Yeah, the key here is to move your attention from responding with your thinking to responding with your feeling.
Why
Responding
do
with
you see a difference? I mean, do you see them ever sort of be very synchronized?
No, it's a totally different thing.
Okay.
Yeah, they influence each other, no doubt.
Mhm.
But in a meditation, you see that if you, not even meditation, if you, like, for a moment, let's say, you stop everything and you pay attention to yourself. So the first thing that you usually pay attention to is the thinking. Oh, I don't like this. This is it reminds me of this and this, and I know there's people like that do this and so on, right? So that's the thinking mind. But if you concentrate on put the attention on the feeling, and feeling is felt in the body.
Mm.
It's a kinesthetic thing.
Mm-hmm.
When you put your attention on the feeling, the thoughts stop. Like all the people that try not to think in meditation, all they have to do is to pay attention to the feelings, and the thoughts stop on their own. So it's just a different focus, different. Our mind, we used to think about it in terms of thinking, in terms of sentences, language, grammar, context, and all that. But actually, our mind is so much more flexible. It can flex itself. It can make itself adapt to different ways of saying things and feeling things. So it can kind of take itself away from following thoughts after thought after thought after thought, which is linear and limited. It's like a flashlight with very thin. The light doesn't spread, right? It's going to go straight. You open yourself in a different way, and you feel, oh, this itches here. I feel a tension here. The muscle in the stomach is kind of pressing. The legs are tingling, and so on. All those things, they become like a wider array of things that happen at the same time, and you can pay attention to them in a different way. So that's like preparing the mind to adapt or to attend in a different way. So this determines, this is like a prerequisite in order to make art of your experience. Because from the thoughts, it will be a very limited art. It will narrow and it will go clumsily right or left. What do you choose, straight or right or left? But in this way, it becomes flexible and open and starts to be a composition with different forces in different places. And so that's how art can be created. So that's a relationship. Do you want me to say more?
No, I have an idea of what you're describing.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think sometimes for me, what I wonder about has to do with translating that visceral sensitivity. And so I'm not always sure of where an idea emanates from. Language becomes, almost can be a translation.
Yeah, language can also be very flexible if you make art with language. They're like in poems or stories, literature or whatever. You can then you use language not so much as only description. It can be very good description, but at the same time, it has different forces. Your grasp of it, your understanding of the situation is more wide and more flexible. Composition.
So you're saying the locus of attention becomes that subjectivity, and then the way you shape it is not allowing the thought process to subvert it.
Yeah,
They're
exactly.
kind of going with it.
Exactly. Yeah, thoughts is like it's a wonderful thing, but it's also the limit. What limits us and what causes all our suffering.
He's saying it's judgments also.
Judgment included, but even yeah, judgment can be good or bad. It's the same.
Okay, thank you.
Giora, I have to leave for a medical appointment, but I wanted to thank you and also say I was glad to see your smiles because I think these programs help you have a little less pain today. I hope.
You're right. You're absolutely right.
Yes.
Bye-bye, everybody. Thank you.
I think it's hard for you to pay attention to the pain when you've got all these people around you.
No,
paying
it's
attention to you.
you see the mind arranges itself to some kind of listening and feeling what is wanted of me. It's a different way. What I see, what are those strange pictures that I see in front of me? Moving, smiling, asking. I feel the people, and it kind of takes my. You need to have your mind in order to feel pain. So if it's taken by you, then you are stealing my mind.
For a higher purpose. Keep you from pain.
Describing almost an amoeba, that it reaches out and touches and takes back in, and it's a constant kind of ebb and flow, and then you sort of stop and observe what shapes or what colors or what is, at that moment is appearing and allowing to appear.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah.
Well, thank you, Giora. It's such an education and a delight to move through your poetry as I move through the visual richness of your painting. Thank you.
Thank you very much. The cake was very good.
Oh, we have to get a real cake for your birthday. Okay. Paula, you're muted.
Got it. Thank you, everyone. And Giora, thank you. This was really wonderful. It was just an incredibly rich experience. And I know it was delayed a bit, but I'm glad we all got to get together today.
Yeah.
Thank you.
We did it, yes.
From all over the world. See?
Thank you all of you, my good friends.
But now I've got this idea in my head that I want book culture to carry your book. So I need to
Right.
talk to you about that
I
because
know, I'm
I
glad.
think they need to highlight their local authors. And so
Right.
I may have a conversation with them.
Mhm. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Pleasure, thank you.
Hi, everyone. Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Thanks for the
Bye, everybody.
invitation. It was
Bye, Or.
worth my. Thank you very much.
Yes, thank you, Paula.
Thank you.
Good to see everybody.
Bye-bye.
Bye.